Hello guys and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is ANZA-T. To the new guys, you are most definitely welcome. Please subscribe to my channel and like this video. And today we are making the yummiest, softest, most gorgeous cinnamon rolls or cinnamon buns. So today I'll take you through the steps of making the dough, making the yummy filling, and making the yummiest topping, a very simple topping. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share this with your friends and families. We keep growing and I love it very much. Let's get right into the video. The recipe will be down below in the description box, but you're going to need 4 cups of cake wheat flour, 10 grams of your instant yeast, and then 1 cup of amasi, and then 1 cup of fresh milk, and then you're going to need 100 grams of salted butter. If you are using unsalted, do add salt, and then 1 large egg, and then some ground cinnamon, and then brown sugar, and then we are ready to start with our dough. We are starting with our wet ingredients. First, a cup of amasi into a jar, then a half a cup of fresh milk in there, and into this mixture we are going to add our 100 grams of butter after whisking, of course. Then goes that 100 grams of butter, and then you whisk. You can pop this into the microwave just to make it warm. Once it has dissolved, we'll be ready to add our dry instant yeast and our sugar in there. So once the butter is dissolved, I am just adding my half a cup of sugar into there, and then we are going to give this a good whisk. Once your yeast is mixed in, you can set this aside, and then we work on our dry ingredients. You can put this in a warm place or in a water bath, a warm water bath. And then for our dry ingredients, we just have 5 cups of cake wheat flour, which are going into a large enough bowl so that you can mix in your other ingredients properly. To this flour, I am then adding 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. My cinnamon was not heaped, so the tablespoons are not like super full. 3 tablespoons I mean, and then mix it up very nicely. And then you can see I added some warm water to my yeast because it was taking time to bloom properly, and I think it's because it's cold, so I added some hot water in a bowl. So you will know that your yeast is sort of like active once you start seeing bubbles and you start smelling home-brewed beer of some sort. You can see those white bubbles start to form, and then we are ready to mix. To that yeast mixture, I am just adding that 1 egg that we spoke about, and then we are going to give this a whisk, and then we will add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. So at this point I am using a hook attachment to my hand mixer, and I am adding in my wet ingredients slowly but surely. Then just whisking. So you can get a spoon just to bring the flour in as you mix around. You can also do this with your hand. You will see later. I think I ended up using my hands, if I'm not mistaken. At this point, you can see that my dough is still a little bit dry, so I added that remainder of 1 cup of milk. In total, it was 1 cup of milk used in this recipe. Everything will be down in the description box on your measurements. And then I am just going in with my hands and mixing until we have a dough-like consistency. Then we'll move this onto a clean surface, and then we'll be ready to knead it a little bit. It's already getting well mixed, especially with me using the dough hooks on my stand mixer. Once your dough is mixed properly, you are going to spread some flour on a surface, and then you are going to tip your dough onto that surface, and then we are going to start to knead this. Kneading this dough doesn't take too much time like bread dough, like those bread buns that I made on my YouTube channel, which I'll link up here somewhere. So this you can knead for 3 to 5 minutes until you just get that spring-like center, which I will demonstrate for you. So on it, you will start feeling some spring at the center. So you press, and then you will see it bounce back. Then it is ready to be used. So you'll cover this with some cling film and let it rest until it doubles in size. For the filling, you are going to add your 4 tablespoons of brown sugar onto the 100 grams of margarine of butter, and then 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. Once you have done that, we are going to mix this very well. But I didn't mind much that the sugar wasn't completely dissolved, because it's going to melt anyway in the oven. And yeah, so a whisk doesn't work properly, so I ended up using an offset spatula to mix this in properly. So you're going to mix this in until it forms sort of like a paste consistency, and then we're going to set this aside and roll out our dough. At this point, I really wanted to just eat this filling by itself, but anyway, so your dough would have risen after like 2 hours or so to double the amount, and then we are going to flour a surface generously. But I feel like I did too generous because I ended up with too much flour on my hands and everywhere. But anyway, you flour a surface generously, and then we are going to flatten, roll out our dough. Blonde moment. So you want to like already give it a shape, like a rectangular shape, and then the rest of the shaping you can do using your rolling pin. Just make sure to roll as rectangular as possible, I know my shapes, guys. As rectangular as possible. Roll, and very thin. Like you want to have sufficient dough to form those nice cinnamon rolls. Once it is thin enough and rectangular enough, we can now then spread our filling. I am still using that spatula. The spatula is very nice at spreading things like it's flat, but you can also use like a butter knife. So you need to spread it sparingly, but making sure that it covers each and everything. Spread, spread, spread. So if you happen to have some gaps, you can just sprinkle some sugar on those gaps. But anyway, let's start folding. So we start by folding a very thin layer, and then we keep folding on itself. Fold, fold, fold. As you can see, I have a lot of excess flour, so I just grabbed a brush and brushed off this excess flour, and then I kept rolling. You can use the palm of your hand and a little bit of your arm to help you spread this roll as evenly as possible. But this is just for appearance sake, you know. It will still taste good even though it's not perfectly rolled. And then you can brush out the excess flour and just make sure that it is shaped fine how you want it. So to cut this, I am going to be using some paper string. You can use dental floss, you can use a knife, anything that will be sharp enough to cut will do you good. And then under goes the string, and then you cut. So the first one is ugly, so I'm just gonna put it aside and then cut the next one. And then you are going to use this one that is cut properly for the first time to measure out where you need to cut the next one, and so forth and so forth. Then you keep cutting and cutting until you have cut all of the dough up. So once you've cut this up, you just want to put them in well-oiled pans, and then you're going to leave these to rise for about 30 minutes again in a warm environment. Before baking. After they've risen, you're going to bake this at 172 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. Check them. So these are my rolls after they are baked. Now we are going to prepare the topping, and then we'll be ready to top them, and we are done. Okay. So for the topping, I just have 60 grams of butter and 1 tablespoon of vanilla essence. To it, I have just added 2 cups of icing sugar, and I am just breaking apart that margarine, that butter, and then we are going to add a little bit of milk bit by bit to make sure that the sugar doesn't get too wet at a high pace. So you mix it up, and then you can also use hand mixer to help this dissolve faster. So you just continue adding your milk bit by bit, yeah, and then you will whisk it up. So I am whisking up this gorgeous vanilla flavored topping for our cinnamon rolls. So you just whisk up until you have your sugar granules dissolved, until you have that butter well dissolved as well. Whisk, 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 whisk away. Now we are just gonna lather this gorgeous, delicious vanilla mixture over our warm cinnamon rolls. So this will be melting and just sipping through those little cinnamon rolls openings there. It will be melting. Yo guys, this was the most satisfying part of making these rolls, just watching that icing melt through those buns. And we are done. These are ready to serve. These are yummy, delicious, soft and fluffy, just the right amount of sweet. So with adding your topping, you can add as little or as much as you want. If you want them less sweet, you can just add a little bit of topping. You can make chocolate flavored topping, you can spread some nuts and all the good things. Woo! And thank you very much for watching this video throughout to the end. I hope you do try this. If you try them, do tag me on my Instagram page. Is at Cooking with ANZA, and all the other recipes that I don't have here on my YouTube channel, do check them out on my Instagram page. Remember to like, subscribe, comment and share, and if you have any questions, please do leave them down in the comment section. I do reply. If you check all my comments from previous videos, there's definitely a reply. So thank you very much, and bye. Stay blessed and stay winning.